Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's Sassy Frizzle. If you are something, I need help coming up with what to put right there because, like, you don't have to be nasty to call me Sassy Frizzle. So, in the coming weeks, I'm open to ideas of what to say when I say it's your girl, Sassy Frizzle. If you are, insert something here. Today, we are going to talk about PNGs versus SVGs because when I posted my video from last week that was accompanied by my rant about file types, someone asked if I could do the next tutorial on PNGs versus SVGs. And so I want to call this a quick and dirty tutorial. It shouldn't take all that long because there is really one major difference between the two, but I did put a couple of slides together to show you visually what I am talking about. Um, if you are 80s baby, you know exactly what you're looking at. One of the greatest games of all time. And there's a reason that I chose this. Outside of being an 80s baby and just loving this game, I want you to pay attention to the pictures on these slides. So let's jump right into it. This is a review because we talked about SVGs a little bit last week, but what is an SVG? So SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And with both SVGs and PNGs, if you think about what they stand for, you'll understand its uses, right? So a scalable vector graphic is a format that uses vectors or lines in mathematical equations to display images. Scalable vector graphic. A graphic with a bunch of lines that you can scale infinitely within the limitations of your software. Let me just put it that way. So, what is a PNG? And again, when you think about it, PNG stands for Portable Network Graphic. Portable Network Graphic. And it is a raster image format which is commonly used for web images and sometimes photographs. By photographs, I don't mean the photographs that are shot with a professional camera at a photo shoot, but there are often times that PNGs could be, or that photographs could be PNG images, but they are most commonly used for web images. You'll see where it says a raster image, and a raster just simply means dots per image, or dots per inch. I'm sorry, dots per inch or pixels per inch. They kind of mean the same thing. And the higher the dots per inch or the pixels per inch, the higher the quality of the graphic is. And so that leads to what's the difference between the two? Why should I use an SVG over a PNG? So, like, what are the differences? The main one is image quality and scale capabilities. No matter how hard you try, you cannot make a PNG look good once you have stretched it outside of the limitations in which it was created. No matter what, can't do it. Cannot. And if somebody tells you that they can do it, you should really think about paying them, because outside of recreating it and doing a lot of digital manipulation, uh-uh. When you're dealing with an SVG, however, you can make it as big or as small as you want within the limitations of your design software, that is. So your image quality is always going to be a bit better with your SVG files than your PNG files. And by better, I mean more, you can do more with them. You can manipulate them a whole lot more than you can a small PNG at that. So then we go to file size slash compression. So because of that raster thing that I talked about before with dots slash pixels per inch, the higher those, the larger your graphic, the more detail and colors that it has. And I think they can support up to 16 million colors, but don't quote me on that. But the more of all these things you have, the larger your file is going to be. And then when you get ready to share it or send it, or in some cases even export it, if your machine is just not, if your computer, but that's what I mean by machine, if your machine is just not equipped to handle a file that large and all the background processes that it has. So you do run into some issues with compression with PNG files, as opposed to SVGs, who are organically smaller file types. Then you have your digital uses. I touched on this a little bit before with your PNGs being most commonly used for the web. You can also use SVGs for the web. A lot of people don't know that. As a matter of fact, if you don't have a vector software on your machine, on your computer, and you go to open an SVG, it will open in a browser window. So whatever your default browser is will open the SVG. And then last but not least, transparency. So in SVGs, because you have layers, you can determine the opacity, or how much you can see through each layer. As opposed to with a PNG, however, you are dealing with one layer and it uses something called alpha channels. And we are at 6 minutes. And so it would take me another 6 minutes to explain alpha channels, alias alpha channels, all these different things, and I don't think we want to get that deep. But what I do want to do is show you in real time how that looks. So on your screen, you're going to see two images. One is a PNG, one is a SVG, and before I do that, under normal circumstances, I would name these, but if I name them, I would give it away. For engagement purposes, drop down in the comments and let me know if you think option 1, which is on my left, or option 2 is the SVG of these. Because right now they look like the exact same thing, right? But remember, the biggest difference between the two are dots per inch, or pixels per inch, versus lines and mathematical equations. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit to that image, zoom out, and then I'm going to go over here to this one and I'm going to zoom in the exact same way. All right, so if you didn't know which one the SVG was before, that little demonstration should give you a hint. But for the sake of time, this is our PNG over here, and this is our SVG over here. So a few things. One, remember how I said that you can make this image as large or as small without losing the image integrity. So right now it is 7.75 inches wide by 11.5 inches high. I want to make this 3 inches by whatever will happen. So 3 by 4 inches. And your image looks exactly the same. I could even go down to 0.5. So this is a half of an inch. But when you look at it, it looks exactly the same. So those are one of the greatest things about SVGs, because remember, they can be as large or as small as you need them to be. I think this was almost 8 inches before. All right. Another thing that I talked about in the differences between the two are the ability to change the opacity of the layers, because layers exist. So if I ungroup all of these, it's going to show me all of the layers that comprise my image. So say for instance, I want the black. I don't know, I just want to change this to a different color. Let's see. And I know hex code's in my head. But oh, my light just died. But I could change the color, and I could also change the opacity, right? So 0 opacity means it's no longer there, it's transparent, so on and so forth. So I'm changing the amount of light that is coming through the image. Boom. Okay. So now I have me a blue wild card over here. This is my PNG. When I go over here to layers, it's on layer 1. This is all I have to work with. Can I change the color on here? No, because there are no groups. So when you look at layer 2, you see all of these groups. That allows me to, the possibilities are endless. I want that to be white for some reason. So now that's white. All right. On this image, you can't do any of that, at least not easily. Now, when I say can't, that means the average user does not know what to do to be able to make this. Now, you can change the opacity of your PNG, absolutely, but it changes the whole thing. And so on the other slide, that's what I meant by the transparency. And last but not least, I'm going to hide this one because we've done everything we need to do with that. Last but not least, remember how I talked about the image quality or the image integrity when you make it big or small? So I'm going to hit this at 27 inches. And right away, you can see all this pixelation around parts of this image. And so when you go to print this out, you're going to see all of that stuff. Now, mind you, I am making these abnormally large. So don't think that if you have a PNG that was created 4 inches by, 7 inches, and that's what you need to use it for, a 4x7 print, that it won't work. But what happens is when you try to use them outside of the parameters in which they were created, then you end up with pixelated graphics and all kinds of issues and just things you don't want. So hopefully I was able to further explain some of the things that I do every day and help you to understand when you should use what file type. If you're not already following and subscribing and commenting and sharing and doing all that thing, please do that. I really enjoy doing these tutorials, and I am stepping outside of my perfection zone because typically I wouldn't do a video just this raw. I'd want to have my intros and all kinds of stuff cubed. I don't have time to do that, but I do have time to educate, and that's why I'm here. So I'll see y'all next time. And if you have any questions, as always, you can let me know. 12 minutes and 30 seconds. I told you it'd be quick and dirty.